Welcome to another episode of Business Inspired GY. And today we are at the Ghana National Bureau of Standards. And speaking with us is Head of Corporate Communications, Mr. Lloyd David. And he will be speaking with us on the importance of the Bureau to business development in Guyana. Lloyd, welcome.
Thank you very much, Ivor. Certainly a pleasure to join you today.
Now, Lloyd, we're here to talk about why should anyone, particularly business owners, come to the Bureau Standards?
Well, the Ghana National Bureau of Standards has earned a reputation over the years in terms of its delivery and provision of national standards. It is known to produce national standards as well as adopt international standards, which are very important and crucial for businesses in Guyana. After all, it helps the business with innovation, new ideas. Standards bring new ideas. Also, it helps with consistency. If you're going to produce a particular product, you must be able to produce it consistently at all times, and with standards that is allowed. Additionally, the Bureau Standards also ensure that all weighing and measuring devices used in trade are accurate by virtue of the 1981 Weights and Measures Act. And as a result, businesses must interact with the GNBS, especially if they are engaging in measurements where money is given to them for a particular product in terms of quantity. So the GNBS has a very important role in ensuring that stakeholders have accurate measurements and there are standards available for them to utilize.
How does the Bureau go about regularizing businesses?
Well, the Ghana National Bureau of Standards has a wide number of businesses as its stakeholder or offers service to them. But particularly as it relates to the regularization, that has to somewhat deal with enforcement. And there are two areas that the GNBS focus on in terms of enforcement. One is the monitoring of products. And also the second one is its weights and measures services by virtue of the 1981 Weights and Measures Act. So the importers and the manufacturers are required to register with the Ghana National Bureau of Standards. And also the dealers need to obtain a permit to offer their services, right? Some of these dealers include the tire dealers, cell phone dealers, those who are selling electrical fittings and equipment, and also furniture. In terms of the importers are the persons that the GNBS monitor the products. There are 17 categories of products, including electrical appliances, tires, and a number of other items, cell phone and so forth. So they need to obtain a registry. They need to register with the GNBS annually to be able to import those products. And if it so happens to be you're a local manufacturer, you need to also register as long as the product falls under the purview of the GNBS. So there are three areas in terms of that. You have the importers, manufacturers, and dealers. Additionally, in terms of weights and measure, the GNBS has the authority by virtue of the 1981 Weights and Measures Act to ensure that measurements in trade are accurate and reliable. This brings in the vendors, the shopkeepers, those are into selling petroleum and so forth. So the GNBS has a range of stakeholders in those areas who are required to get their devices verified during the respective periods.
And this verification process is done annually?
Verification is done twice yearly for items in trade. For devices that are used in trade, verification is done twice yearly. This includes scales that are used in the markets, hospitals, clinics, supermarkets, health center, and all these places where we require, even the rice mills, where they require to use a weighing or a measuring device to sell a particular product or service in exchange for money.
Now, before a business owner comes to the Bureau, what steps should they take? And by this, I mean, what other agencies should they be in contact with before coming to the Bureau?
Generally, the Ghana National Bureau of Standards is a frontline agency. It's one of the agencies that you need to engage first before you get into any other business. Because what we have here are standards. And you first need to understand the standards then before you know what you need to do. Only agency that you need to engage, I'm sure, is the the deeds registry, because you need to supply a copy of your business registration. That is important for registration and also the application for a permit. We need to have proof that you're actually a business before we go any further in terms of registering you here at the GNBS.
Mm-hmm. And my next question is, what documents should they bring to the Bureau if they're seeking to regularize their businesses?
Well, certainly it would be forms, the registration form, the application form, the form where you apply for permit, that is. So there's the application form, there is a registration form for importers and manufacturers, and also you will be required to bring that copy of your business registration at the GNBS, and we will complete the necessary information. We have the form here, or you can acquire it from our website. You complete it and you attach the registration to it, and you come, you pay the requisite fee and all of that, and we give you a certificate.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long does this process take for one to regularize their business, his or her business, and are any fees attached to this?
The process is simple. I'm just give the example of the importer. He brings in a container of electrical appliances, and he needs to know what he needs to do. First of all, you need to get the registration form to register with the Ghana National Bureau of Standards as an importer. As long as you complete that, you have your registration, your proof of business registration attached to it, along with your fee. In terms of the importer, we have a small fee. We have a registration fee, which is very minimal. But what you're required to do is every time you import, every time a consignment comes in and we have to inspect that consignment, you pay a fee. So it's a building up cost over time. So definitely you complete the registration. You come in, you complete the registration, pay for the registration at the GNBS, and you're good to go. You organize your inspections. The inspector makes himself available, and then you go about doing the examination at the port of entry or the warehouse or wherever the case might be.
Can an entity be penalized for failing to become compliant?
Well, the Ghana National Bureau of Standards, an entity can be penalized under our various legislation. Unfortunately for us, those legislation are quite outdated in terms of fines and fee and penalties in terms of fines and so forth. But we are looking to engage the legal process to build that up. Definitely, if you bring in a container, for example, this is another importation example. You bring in a container of tires, the Asakuda system at the GRA will automatically flag your item, right? Which will tell the custom officers that, you know what, the Ghana National Bureau of Standards need to inspect and release this item. So without you not engaging the GNBS, will just put you at a disadvantage. Your container will remain on the wharf. You'll pay all the storage fees in the world and so forth. So importers know that it is necessary to engage Ghana National Bureau of Standards quickly to pay the registration form, the inspections, and all the various processes that are required to get their consignment clear. Likewise, in terms of a vendor or shopkeeper, they understand very well that the device that they are using need to be approved by the GNBS, and it needs to be verified at a particular time of the year. They understand that very well. So it's not difficult, and what the GNBS has been doing is that for the vendors and shopkeepers, we understand that they are business people. So we have put systems in place to go to them, spend 2 days in Border Market, 2 days in Starbuck Market, and the various markets around the country, so that we can assist them. We can be there. They can quickly bring their device for verification and so forth. But if for some reason or the other, a vendor or shopkeeper decides they're not going to comply, they're not going to bring their device, there is a surveillance inspection period during the year where we will go around and we will check each device to see whether it was verified for that period. Actually, twice yearly we do that too. And if we find instances where you did not verify your scale as a vendor, we will seize. We have the authority to seize and remove those devices from the marketplace and bring them back to the GNBS until you decide to get yourself in order as a vendor.
Now, if we can move on to block making, I know recently the Bureau would have started actually testing blocks in Guyana. How responsive have been block makers to this service?
Honestly speaking, in terms of the response is not so good. Uh, there was this demand for the service. People wanted to know how strong are the blocks they are making, that is the compressive strength, and all the tests on the concrete blocks. So we took our initiative to put this system in place, establish a laboratory and so forth, and begin to conduct testing of concrete blocks. So far, just 11 users, 11 persons or block makers have used the process. But of course, some of them repeatedly use it for one reason or the other, whether it's a certification, whether it's to demonstrate compliance or quality to a contractor who's buying their blocks, or those reasons. So although it's 11, there were many repeats in terms of a reuse of the laboratory to determine results and quality of their blocks. Well, we still believe that there are hundreds of block makers across the country, and the onus is on them to get themselves in order, provide us with the sample they need, at least in the initial stage, to determine how strong are the blocks, right? So it is important that they utilize the service of the GNBS. We made it available to you, and we believe that you should take advantage of it. It's not expensive, and it will also inform you of what you've been doing in terms of supplying the quality to your various consumer groups.
Those who have been using the service, are they large or small businesses?
Some of them are large, and some of them are small. Remember, some small, you cannot discount the smaller producers because contractors are in demand for building materials. So they will approach, Tom Jones, whoever, say, you know what, I need you to produce 3,000 blocks, and then they go to another small one and say, I need another 25 from you, I need another, but I need it at this strength. So the smaller manufacturers are also getting a piece of the pie. What they are required to do is submit samples of their blocks to the GNBS so that they can determine the strength or improve the strength of those blocks so that they can meet that contractor's demand. Because with all the hotels and buildings and so going up, the contractors cannot rely on one or two large manufacturers. They'll have to wait in line. So that's why they're hoping that the small manufacturers, and we at the GNBS also hope that the small manufacturers get on board with us, determine the strengths of the blocks, and capitalize and take advantage of all those opportunities that are available to them once they know the strength of the blocks.
What would be your advice to business owners, particularly small business owners and those who might be looking to get into business now, in terms of regularizing their business?
In terms of regularizing the business as relates to the Guyana National Bureau standards, if you're into a particular business, if you're thinking about getting into a particular business, you must understand what governs that business. And if there are instances where there is a national standard available, say for example, if you're thinking about making coconut water business, you're going to package and label that and all of it. You need to determine that if there's a standard that will offer guidance to you and support what you're doing, and you can approach the Guyana National Bureau standards and take advantage of that standard, understand the requirements and fulfill the requirements. I know many of these standards are voluntary, but the information contained in them offer great guidance as to how you should do what you should do. For example, if you're making the coconut water, there are hygienic requirements, there are quality requirements, taste requirements. There's so many things you need to conform to. But at the end of the day, when that coconut water is packaged and made available to the consumer, they definitely will enjoy it, because you're required to store it at a certain temperature so it won't taste different or spoil, and all of that. So that is one of the things that I would encourage any business owner. Additionally, the GNBS has a business development department where we work with businesses, we provide training to businesses. on the various standards and requirements, so we could actually come to your company, sit with you, hold your hand, and take you through the various processes so that you can conform. We also have professional training programs, and we advertise them regularly. And we believe that, if you get in tune, get on board, and learn, identify what is relevant to what you are doing as a business owner, and get on board with that training, and you learn so much that you can actually go and share it back with your employees. And of course, or invite your employees, if you're busy, let your employees come and they share it back with you so that you can actually improve what you're doing, your products, your processes, and all of that.
Are there costs attached to the training programs you offer?
Yes, certainly there are costs. The GNBS is a semi-autonomous agency, and we are required to generate a large amount of our funding through the services that we provide. So definitely there is a cost attached to a minimal cost, of course. If you do the comparison with international training, so those costs are very exorbitant. But at the GNBS, we understand that we're operating in a local environment where we need to assist businesses. First and foremost in our mind is to assist them, it's not to strangle them. So we try to set our costs very minimal, but the delivery of the material and the kind of training that you receive here is very high level.
I know since the pandemic would have started, we've seen a lot of small business popping up in different areas. Have there been a demand for your service at the GNBS?
Well, in terms of what we find is that not only the small businesses, but particularly the larger businesses are engaging the GNBS. With the oil and gas and stream here in Guyana at this time, there are many requirements. If you want to get into the business as a business person, you need to be in conformance with a particular standard. It's the ISO 9000 Quality Management System standard. Or if you're going to supply food, you need to get into HACCP or the ISO 22000 Food Safety Management System standard. These are just few of the standards that are available that, of late, since with the advent of oil and gas, there's been this demand. Can you come assist us? Can you assist our company? We want to go for international certification. We need your guidance, and of course we use the opportunity to train them and also provide technical assistance to them so that they can, build their capacity and also access certification internationally so they can be recognized as one of those businesses that can supply the level of service that is desired by those who are in the oil and gas industry. But in terms of small businesses, there are some small businesses like those who are the ones that do the achar and the different sauces and all of that. They begin to realize, we need to conform to certain requirements. And all of those standards we have here at the GNBS, those food standards, they are not mandatory or compulsory that you must do them, but as I mentioned earlier, they provide the requisite guidance.
And that concludes our interview today with Mr. Lloyd David, Head of Corporate Communications at the Guyana National Bureau of Standards. And Mr. David would have provided a lot of pertinent information for development of businesses in Guyana, particularly for small businesses and persons who are looking to get into business. And I do hope that you're going to take his advice and come and get your businesses regularized. And for those of you who are thinking, to just come and see what are the standards that are applicable for the business that you are looking to get into. Mr. David, again, thank you very much for facilitating us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Anytime, we're going to be back.
You're welcome.